Greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to another Minecraft episode today. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I am thrilled, exhilarated to have a talk with you about the three mind cancers. That's not even a word I like to say or put out there. However, in this particular situation or circumstance or context or whatever, it really applies. And I have to first give a shout out to my newest teacher. You know, I have a lot of great teachers. I talk about Wayne Dyers, my dear friend Oprah, who just doesn't know we're such good friends, and Brene Brown. I just have so many. My newest one is Jay Shetty. I really, really like him. Wow, he used to be a monk, and now he's married, and he's doing all kinds of podcasts and things. And he wrote a book called Think Like a Monk, which I have just dove into, and it's so cool. So anyway, in there he talks about the three cancers of the mind, and I was so inspired by Jay, meaning in spirit, right? Because we're all connected and everything like that, and and the wisdom flows through all of us as a collective consciousness. So I just wanted to really talk about them. So the first one is comparison, and you've heard me talk about this a lot, and I also do research on social comparison as it applies to well-being. It was with college students, with social media and college students. And so the social comparison theory was kind of underlying that research. But with the social media, with just out in the world and comparing, it's a straight pathway to sad when we compare ourselves to other people. What they're doing does not have anything to do with what we are doing. And it's kind of like the competitive spirit is good. I have a competitive spirit, but really it's about your own personal best. When we get into trying, see, well, how come they're doing that? And then we try to latch on and run their race. We can't run their race. We can only run our race. And so it's really best to try to resist that as much as we can, or try to, I don't like the word resist either, because what we resist persists. Let's not say that. Disengage, detach, there we go, from comparing ourselves to other people, because it's really all about just what's best for you in your own life and your own personal alignment with our divine source doing what you were put on this earth to do. Okay, so that's comparison. We don't want to compare to other people, circumstances, anything. Bad, bad, bad. It's corrosion of the mind, right? The next one is complaining. And oh my gosh, I have such a thing with I think I actually have developed a force field around me, which we authentics do, as we are on this path, because it's all about the journey, right? I'm not finished yet. I don't think any of us are finished yet. We're all works in progress. And that said, the complaining thing, it becomes so much more. We become so much more sensitive to it as authentics. It's like sticking pins in our prefrontal cortex. You just can't take it. Just cannot take it. It's like this, kind of like two, polarized, magnets pushing apart or something. I can't even explain it. But we repel complaining. It's not a resistance. Resistance is different. It's like a detaching, and we are often quietly effective, because really, I did a whole episode on being quietly effective. We can actually make a statement if somebody's in our family, or it's our partner even, or one of our, kids. We can make a bold statement if they've developed a habit of complaining. Or let's say it's workplace oriented. Maybe might be a little tougher for a confrontation like that, when you might just be quietly effective and ignore it. Because psychologically speaking, the fastest way to extinguish any behavior, whether it's a toddler or your partner, is to ignore it. So being quietly effective can be very useful, because if the person who's complaining doesn't have any kind of payoff in it, they're going to stop, because we only do things as human beings when there's payoff in it. So the whiners and complainers, and again, we're not talking about, like a best friend who needs to, had a heartbreak of some sort and needs to talk about it authentically. That's a whole different story. We're talking about just whining oh my gosh, it's raining again. Oh my gosh, it's raining. Why does it always rain on my day off? As if the clouds have a conspiracy against you because it's your day off, or that person's day off. And it's like noise pollution. To me, it's air pollution, really. It's air pollution, noise pollution, or whatever it is, because they're spewing negativity out of their mouths like a smokestack, releasing all kinds of dark smoke into the air. And I've actually said that to people with humor. I'm not usually, it's not my way to like hammer at somebody. I just kind of say, ooh, like it's like secondhand smoke, and sometimes people don't realize they're doing it. And then it might be good to gently and subtly, or gent's almost the same word, gently bring it to their attention, or then the quietly effective thing, because I don't want to breathe that. Just like somebody who's smoking, it's their choice if they want to bring all the filth into their lungs. Not judging it, because people who smoke for a reason, whatever. It's still toxic. We can say that because we know it is. So they can choose to bring all that stuff in their lungs, but don't smoke around me, because that isn't my choice in my body. I don't want the smoke in my lungs. Well, I don't want. It's your choice if you want to whine and complain and be negative, but that's not my choice. And I don't want all of that negative sensory feedback stuff in my mind attic, which I have cleaned out and organized to the best of my ability today, right? And I don't want that in there. Thank you very much. Okay, the last one is criticize. It's like the 3 C's, right? It's comparison, complaining, and criticizing. And I don't think sometimes some of us realize, probably most of us at some time or other, that when we criticize, which is also judgment, right? When we're criticizing another person, even though it can feel, Brene Brown always makes me laugh when she says this, even though it can feel really good in the moment, it's true. Why? It's true because the payoff, which is why we continue to do it, is that we have a sort of temporary ego-driven, which means it's false, a temporary ego-driven false sense of belonging that's just like eating a Snicker bar. Like it feels good going down, but then not so much later on. We get a rush, or maybe a better idea. I don't want to slam McDonald's or anything. And I'm not above fast food. Let me tell you, I love burgers. Something about McDonald's, I just can't do it. But it can feel good going down, but then later, So, if that wasn't an example for you, that's okay. But you get the idea. Is that it's a temporary feel-good fix because it satiated that belonging thing. It's actually, fitting in. We need to separate that. That fitting in feeling, because belonging is authentic. Fitting in feeling for a second, gossiping about that person and judging, criticizing in that moment, and then it has like a half-life, and then it goes backwards because it takes a piece out of us. Because what we do to somebody else, we do to ourselves, and the reverse, right? So when we criticize, Jay says this. So when we catch ourselves doing it, this is a really good thing I'm going to take with me. Even if it's private, it doesn't make it out of our mouth, which is one step better than making it out of our mouth. Give yourself kudos for that, because we can't always control what just flies across our heads. It matters if we act on it and jump in on the gossip train, right? And even if we do it mentally, and this is also demonstrated, it's the 5-to-1 ratio. So because the 5-to-1, 5-to-3, anyway, it's 5-to-1, I'm pretty sure, with the positive to negative, like getting rid of the negative things. So he talks about, if we slip up and we criticize somebody, even if nobody else knows, we know, right? He talks about how this worked when he was at the ashram as a monk. And I think they had them write down 10 things about the person, but I'm good with 5, and I'm pretty sure that's statistically what cancels out the negative. To say 5 things in your head about the person you just criticized that are positive. Again, even if it's private, I'm totally going to do this. If you have just some judgy moment that flies across, okay, well, so-and-so is thoughtful, and she's this, and she's funny, and she's blah, 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 and I overheard her having a kind moment with somebody else, blah, blah. And before long, because here's the thing, what we do to other people, we do to ourselves in the reverse. Also, because habits are so sticky, like molasses, or when we slide into the habit of criticizing and judging, it's also been shown that we do the same with ourselves. And it's like, it can be very subtle, but before you know it, we're also self-criticizing, and that doesn't go anywhere good. We all know about what the negative feedback loop is like, and then before we know it, we're criticizing them, we're criticizing us, and then when we criticize ourselves, that brings us down. We feel worse about ourselves. We can enter into that whole self-loathing cycle. When we're not feeling good about ourselves, what do we want to do? Criticize other people, because it makes us temporarily elevate and feel better at their expense. All ego-driven, goes nowhere good. Okay, this is why these are the 3 cancers of the mind, because they spread. When I think of cancerous, malignant words, I don't like to use at all, ever. I don't want to put them out there. However, with this, it's a good reason, because we're talking about preventing it, right? I think about the spread of it, and all three of these comparison, complaining, criticizing, which is what the drive is, all it all spreads. It is. It's just emotional cancer. It's terrible of the mind. So there we go. So what we want to do is not do that and combat that with preventative, like anti-carcinogens for the mind, which is saying positive things about people, being mindful and being grateful. Great gratitude is the anti-venom for sadness and depression and any of these self-loathing, ego-driven habits, right? Gratitude, mindfulness and gratitude, they go together, okay, are the anti-venom for it. So if you want to prevent it, it's kind of like eating your fresh fruit and blueberries, because blueberries we know ward off all the free radicals and stuff. You want to do that for your mind? Then we want to be mindful and be grateful. All right, this is Kimberly Quinn signing off from the beautiful northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.